What's going on, world? Welcome into the latest episode of Reframe Your Thinking, and I'm your host, your coach, Justin Ford. You can find me on social at Coach Ford X on Instagram and Threads and Facebook. And so I'm excited about this episode. I did a previous recording of this, and so I had some technical difficulties. But here I am, I'm re-recording this and talk to you about my story and where the Reframe Your Thinking model came from and what it is and why it's important and why I'm doing it my way. So there's tons of coaches, right? There's tons of business consultants. There's tons of everything, right? And so the world is blessed and fortunate that people are willing to share their stories and allow you to know that, hey, things are possible. And so for Ford X Media, our slogan is accomplish the impossible, and I truly believe that, and I truly believe that people can accomplish impossible things if their mind is right, if they reframe their thinking. And so how do we get to this point? How do we get to this moment in time? For me, and I'm sure you heard this all the time, I grew up in very humble beginnings. And I can't say I would be here today if my circumstances was different, if my story was different. I don't know, because through my struggles and my heartache and the way life took me, it took me here. It took me to this beautiful logo that my mentor and business director created, and she took the name Ford X and she took it to where it is. And I'm forever thankful to her and her family. Teresa and all them and them pouring into the belief. And there's a lot of people to thank along the way, but what God has done for me and for this logo and for this company and this belief, for a person that did not know me to come in and say, hey, I believe in the thing that you believe, and for us to come together as a team and to do phenomenal things, and more on that at another time. But it's so important to the story, important to this moment in time, and to the Reframe Your Thinking. I'm actually writing a second book centered around this focus. In my first book, which will release 5/5/24, Just Do Your Job. I talk about what your job is, and your number one job is to become the best version of yourself. But you got to have hard conversations with yourself. You got to have hard conversations with other people, because people are really going to box you in to the things they want you to be and the person they want you to become. And so you have to understand, you got to fight, that urge that others are trying to box you into the things that they want you to do. And so for the Reframe Your Thinking model, there's been a lot to this. There's been a lot that shaped this. It wasn't just something that I was like, hey, I'm going to throw it to the wall. No, I have a million thoughts a day. And I felt like there's a huge group of people like me that is trying to figure it out. They just don't know what direction to go. They don't know who to reach out to, or who's the person to communicate with, or how to connect the dots. And Steve Jobs said something really profound, like you don't figure it out in that moment. In order to future, you find it looking back. You go back and you connect the dots. So I've been blessed and fortunate to discover my unique ability, which you learn about this in the 10X is Easier Than 2X book, is my ability to synthesize information and to take a concept from one area of life and apply it. So like my job as a basketball coach is to get my players to understand the things that we're trying to accomplish. And so the next aspects of my life, and I have big visions, right? Ford X is going to be massive. And it may not seem it yet, right? Like faith is things that you haven't seen, right? And so I have faith in God that God is going to take me to where I need to be. So for all that, and all that's for a different time, but the important of this episode 4, my story and my why, and the reason why I'm so motivated to make Ford X what it is. My father died the month before I was born, April 1991. I was born May 5th, 1991. And then my mother died 3 years later. And then we were moved from house to house. I can still remember being at her funeral lost and confused and wondering. And I can remember one of my most vivid memories of my mother was sleeping in my race car bed. I wasn't feeling well, but I knew she wasn't well. And I don't know why I have that memory, but I do. But I could sense her love. I can sense her care. I could sense her that motherly love, right? And the world was a dark place. And I mean, I had a lot of fun memories. Don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun times, but as a kid growing up, not having your mother and your father, you ask a lot of questions because death is an interesting thing. And so when people say, hey, your parents passed away, and you try getting solutions and answers, and but you learn, right? You learn from those situations as they shape us. I don't know the person I would have become if they was alive, and I love them for giving me these genetics. I love them for giving me the focus and the name and everything else. But I'm just blessed and fortunate. And so we moved from family home. And the world was dark. It was a big place. I mean, the world is massive. Really think about this. And that's even with people with parents and families. But I had a loving family. We just grew up in poverty. There's a lot that we didn't know. There's a lot from a business perspective, a lot from a schooling perspective, a lot from just careers and opportunities. And so I talk to my cousin about this all the time, and so to be pursuing my doctorate and to be pursuing to create Ford X, I have a long list of things that I want Ford X to become, and so to be CEO of this conglomerate, and what my good friend and brother Lemmy Williams told me that this would be, and so how do you overcome these things? I don't know. God has blessed me with a lot of people. So my grandmother moved me down to Annapolis, Missouri, when I was in the 4th grade. We grew up in humble beginnings, right? Like there was nights where we didn't know if we would have food, and the winters were cold, and we didn't have our own beds, and the environments weren't great. And so when I say humble, I mean humble, like poor dirt floors, right? Sharing beds with your cousins and just trying to make it and just trying to survive. And I was an angry kid. I mean, I was a frustrated kid. I was mad. In an environment, a situation, because there were so many things I couldn't control, and it was what it is. I don't blame anybody, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it takes a lot to overcome that. So, she moved us down to Annapolis, Missouri, and I very remember vividly, and here's the why of getting the doctorate and what shaped the doctor and what shaped my thinking and belief was, she took me to church around fun-loving people who poured into me, and they showed me good standards. My family would share stories about my granddad. People would share stories about my granddad, James Buchanan, about how he was a great man, and that he worked on the highway department as a manager, and that my mother was a manager, and she had a great name, and my father was a charismatic person, and he was fun-loving, and I have all these traits and personalities of all these great people I never met. And I thought to myself, wow, I can be that. I can leave a name and a legacy, not only for my children, but for other people. When they say, hey, that Justin Ford guy, he came and he conquered the world. And as I started getting older, I started to work through some of those frustrations and anger. And I'm not saying that I haven't resolved all those things, but I will say it has helped motivate me and push me through, and it's developed my stubbornness. And so the doctorate program and where Reframe Your Thinking came in at. So where Reframe Your Thinking came into it, and I look forward to really recrafting the story and retelling it and improving it. But for now, I wanted to get this out, and God was really pressing me to do this. I was actually watching another speaker training video, and God was talking to me. It's like, you don't need to watch this video. I need you to tell your story. I need you to spend the time recording and crafting. I will show you the rest of the way. And I would be amiss if I didn't say I praise God and I thank God for my grandma to take me down to Annapolis, Missouri. And a lot of the things that I learned come from her. I remember staying late night with her, and people would tell me great stories about her too after her passing. And when I lost her, it was hard. I lost her at 22. year after my oldest was born, and she told her best friend, the job's done. I got one through, and what she meant was she knew I would make it. She knew I would become this person I am today, and so that's motivational. To have that love and belief in somebody you love, and so it was awesome. It freed me to say I can go be anything that I want to be. I can go and change the world. I can go and be the things that I want to be, and somewhere I let life take away that focus. And so going back to reframe your thinking. And it's really cool. It's cool that life takes you the way you're supposed to if you're willing participant to see the things that God has planned for you, or things for your life. So here we are. And so there's a couple of major events that happened in my life. The first time I was introduced to the reframe your thinking concept. Shout out to Mrs. Graham, Miss Kim Graham, as she liked to say, "Oh, Lady Graham." Shout out if you get to watch this video. My heart, I thank you for this moment, for giving me this concept and reframe your thinking. So here's what happened. I was in the 4th grade and I was dressed up for Halloween as a doctor, and she goes, "Hey, Dr. Ford." And I was like, "Hey, I could never be Dr. Ford," right? Because the circumstances and situation I grew up in. And she pulled me to the side and she goes, "Why would you say that?" She goes, "Well," I was like, "Nobody." I'm thinking to myself as an adult now, and I'm thinking to myself even more as a kid. I'm like, you couldn't be a doctor. Nobody in my family goes to the doctor. I can't even, school is, I have to go to school because y'all make me go to school, right? Like, I'm not trying to be in school like that. And I didn't understand what she was saying. And she was saying, "Hey, you can be anything. You can be a doctor." And from that day forward, she said, "I'm going to call you Dr. Ford." And she was cheering me up and she was hyping me up. And she's like, "Dr. Ford, Dr. Ford, Dr. Ford." And in that moment, she helped reframe my thinking. And at any point in time, she could have said, "Yeah, you're right, kid. You ain't going to be no doctor, right?" So you got to love moments like that. You got to love those situations, right? And you got to love how life takes you to where you need to be. And so I feel more free to smile a little bit and to be a little happier. And so I was blessed with the game of basketball. And so that was the first moment of reframing. And then I was blessed with the game of basketball. And for anybody that doesn't understand sports, I encourage you to go sit down with a team. I encourage you to go with a coach, reach out to me, and understand what sports can do for people, how sports can shape lives, how the right people and mentors can change your life. In Annapolis, I had a lot of great people. I had tons of people pour love into me. And without that, I don't know where I would be, but they poured into me, they loved in me, they taught me lessons, they parented me, they did what a village is supposed to. And I always say, even a 2-parent home, and I want you to understand this, even a 2-parent home requires a village, needs a village, right? And they need that village to be around. And what does that mean? Like, everybody needs a group of people that's going to uplift them and build them up. And so I'm not always great at uplifting and building people up, right? Because I have such this focus that it's like, no, we got to get it and get it as quickly as possible. And that rough and tough and that coaching mentality, right? And so I'm getting better at it, and I hope to continue to improve. But I encourage you to reframe your thinking in sports and get around good coaches and get around people that are doing it the right way. And so my second time, and I had a lot of reframing moments, but the second time I had reframing was with the game of basketball. I remember my junior year, one of my good friends died in a car accident, and I just didn't want to play basketball no more, right? And shout out to Jared, who's the assistant coach at my old high school, South Iron High School. Shout out to Coach Dusty Dinkins. He's like, "Dude, you got to come on, man." I was soaking out in the commons area. I was being a baby, and he's like, "Justin, come on, man. You got to get over yourself. If you're going to do this, come do it. We're not going to sit up here and have you be a baby and sulk and whine and cry in the comments." And so that was a challenging experience for me, right? Where you had a breaking point where, I started kicking the wall. And Coach Ticket's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm kicking the quit out, Coach. Like, I just kicked the quit out. I was so frustrated with the line drill. And, sports is a beautiful thing because it teaches us a lot. And, I never share any of these stories with anybody. And I never share what shapes me, and I just let people infer their own stories because I don't care. I really don't care what people think, right? Because, I know the things I went through. I know my struggles. I know the life I want to live. And part of living the life I want to live, I have to tell the story now. And I have to share with people. And I have to be free to stand on telling people the things that shaped me and made me, and the reason why what I'm doing is important. And so basketball was part of it. So I've had a lot of moments of clarity, but these are the highlights. These are like the big, the things that shape you. And so the second moment that shaped me was when we went to the state championship game in 2008. And here's why this is important. Without these stories and without these situations and environment, there is no Ford X. There is no me. There is no Coach Ford Basketball. There is no Ford X LLC. There is no Ford X Studios. There is no Reframe Your Thinking. There is no Just Do Your Job. There is no those things, right? And all the experiences that shaped me, and I had a lot of experiences that shaped me. So, but I'm giving you the highlights of the things that built to these moments, right? As Steve Jobs says, connecting the dots, right? And I did a terrible job. Let's do this better. Connecting dots. So here's a dot, here's a dot, here's a dot, here's a dot, right? It's a little envelope. And so you figure it out. And so the next moment of clarity and reframe your thinking was my end of my junior year. We just lost the state championship game. And because we just lost the state championship game, that was a devastating moment, right? Like, we had worked so hard to get there. We just lost one of our teammates early in the year. And so we were motivated. We were motivated to not only make it to the state championship game, we were motivated to overcome, now it's an envelope. We were motivated to overcome and persevere during the year, losing your teammate, and shout out to the Riggs family and Ethan Riggs and that family and their love and their support and they're dear to my heart, and there's a lot of people that I could shout out, but I got to stay to my story. If not, I'll be giving 1,000 shout outs, right? And so just to kind of fulfill the story, losing that state championship game was tough, and I didn't like some of the things people were saying to us, and that we were reading on some forum. It said, oh man, South Iron's going to drop off. They ain't got nobody good. David Prater graduated, blah, 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 which is a good friend of mine. He's a head coach in Ironton, Missouri right now. And I didn't like that. I was like, what? I'm like, wait a minute. Our class is just as good, right? So both groups grew up being competitive. And so I was like, no. And so I went to our assistant coach at the time, Rob Harlow, and I was like, hey, coach, I really want to go back to the state championship game. He's like, okay. I said, what I got to do to help the team? Reframe your thinking. So it's very important. Coaching is important. Mentoring is important. Being around people that are going to hold you accountable and shape you. But this is what I wanted. But this is the first lesson in once. The life you want to live, right? So, sorry. Once. I need to go over here. Can you guys see? Once. Let me turn this camera. Be better over here. Once. I wanted to go back to the state championship game. And, I asked him, I said, hey, what do I got to do to help this team get back to the state championship game? He said, well, you need to lose 10 to 20 pounds. So I go in Mr. Warner's room and I say, hey, I need to weigh myself and I need to see how much I weigh. And we weighed myself and I was at 260. And I was like, okay. So I reached out. So that was the first moment of reframing. I made a conscious choice. So what I'm telling you is I'm not telling you some false reality. What I'm telling you is these things are possible. When I say Ford X Media accomplished the impossible, what I did next, a lot of people reach this moment of clarity and this transformation. And somewhere I lost this individual, but God preserved this individual, right? Preserved this mentality, this framework that I had within me. And so here I am where I am today because of God's perseverance and calling on my life. And clearly God was choosing me to do an assignment. And so, I reached out to Jeffrey Thomas. He runs a construction company. And I said, hey, instead of paying me, I don't want to get paid. And I want you to hear this. This is very crucial in getting your life to where you want it. I said, hey, I don't want you to pay me. I want you to train me for pay. So I'll work, you train me. And so I would go to his house every night, and he would challenge me. He would be like, you need to do these sit-ups. You can't do sit-ups. Excuse me. He's like, you need to do push-ups and sit-ups and running. And so, I accepted the challenge. And that was a month transformation, because we went into June basketball. For all you people that don't know, we went into June basketball. And I went there as a totally different person. And I remember having conversations with Coach Dinkins about it. And people would be like, man, who is that? Who is that new kid out there? Like, who is that guy? Who is that kid? And I remember traveling all different games, and I was a totally different person. And, the transformation, and I talk to Coach Dinkins about this all the time. And he's a great person, great mentor of mine, and great, just somebody great to be around, 3-time state champ now. But, he taught me, and he still continues to mentor and coach me to this day. But anyways, that's another, I could have multiple Reframe Your Thinking conversations about this. But I was motivated, and I was fired up, and I had a burning desire, right? And I wanted to help get this program back to the state championship game. It was very important to me. And that summer, my next moment of clarity and Reframe Your Thinking was when we played the team we lost to in Branson. And I remember sitting there, and a couple of kids from Harrisburg, because I had to go get away. I mean, we just lost to this team again for the second time in 4 months, and the other time was for a state championship game. So you can understand how mad and motivated I was. Like, no, man, we got to beat Harrisburg, and shout out to Harrisburg's program, right? Because they're still a prestigious program, and they've done a good job of staying consistent at that level. And so here we are, and they said, hey, man, they said, dude, your transformation from where you were as a couple months ago to here is a totally different guy. Now, mind you, they're state champs. We just played them. We lost to McKinney by 6. I couldn't believe it, and I was so frustrated. And they were just like, man, that was a good game. That was a great run. I said, yeah. I said, hey, the next time you'll see me, we'll be in the state championship game. And that was my motivation. And that year we really wanted to get after it. And we didn't make it to the state championship game. We lost to Burning by 2 my senior year, and Portersville ended up winning the state championship game that year. And Portersville won it by like 20. But this is how these moments shape your life. But all those things led to the next thing and led to the next thing. And so when I say reframe your thinking, I had to get back to this person. This person that you see with confidence and the bravado, and it's not an arrogance, it's not cocky, it's, you have to be willing to sacrifice some things to be ultra successful. You have to be willing to give up some things in order to be the person you're supposed to become. You have to be willing to, when nobody else sees the dream. And so I know what I'm doing. I'm on the right path because I've already done these transformations. And it's called 10X is easier than 2X. Great book. I've already had those transformations. Getting ready to go through another 10X is easier than 2X transformation. And so it's the story that's going to craft and take 4X to where it's going to be. And if you're one of my former athletes or you're one of my students, you get to have these conversations with me. And so there's a lot more to the story. And I mean, I'll have to write my own book about that, but I'm not going to write a book right now because I have some other things that I want to do. So why am I telling you all this? Because it's not just show up and live. You have to have some intention. You have to have some focus. You have to have some unwavering wants to your life, and you cannot waver on it. And if you allow life to strip you down and beat you, it will do that, right? And I love playing Call of Duty, and that's like I'm fighting myself. Like, I go spend time playing Call of Duty for hours, but my inner spirit's like, no, dude, you gotta do these videos. You spend 3 or 4 hours doing Call of Duties. Why can't you spend a couple hours a day recording? And so it's been cool. And so I've had multiple transformations, but that's the initial story, right? And that's the initial why, that burning desire to become this person, because I'm looking for, I'm not gonna say I'm looking for, I'm going after a life that I want to live, and somewhere I got off course from that. And we all do that. We all get off course. We all forget who we are. And I'm here to remind you that you're capable of greatness. You are capable, right? You are capable of greatness. And my hope is to help you reframe your thinking. I don't want anything from you. If you choose to reach out, fine, that's great. Go to our 4X book club mastermind on Facebook. Go to our website. You can reach me on social. But I don't want anything from you. I don't. I want to help people. I want to help people transcend where they are to the next level, because it's very possible. And what's possible is they put us in this housing unit, and here's the floor. And so little house there. Maybe a little castle. But anyways, they try limiting you in here, and so they put these ceilings on these, and they stack all these things on top of you. And it's like, no, let's break past this. Like, I could have stayed at this 260-pound guy, not work on my skills, not work on my ability. I could have stayed 2X, right? I could have stayed a 2X person, right? But I didn't know I was 10Xing in my life. And a lot of people do it. It's just we get stuck back in this 2X mode, and we forget. We forget how great we are. We forget there's things that we can do. And so I'm here to tell you, it's possible. It's possible for you to accomplish the impossible. How can a guy lose his mother and father early in life, be moved from house to house, end up in a small town, Annapolis, Missouri, get blessed and fortunate to go to church, and be blessed and fortunate to be part of a great basketball program, and then be blessed and fortunate to where I am today. And so I have part 2 of the story. So, the next parts was, I'm going to save that conversation for another day, because there's so much, but I don't want to get from the lesson today. The most important thing I want you to know is start where you are. And I talked about this in the last video. And get around people who are going to challenge you. Get around people who are going to motivate you. And whenever I did the episode 3, I was in a different headspace at that time. I was thinking about, like, get started, right? Like, you got to get started. And then I started doing these speaking challenges, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing? I'm going to spend 2 or 3 hours on this training when I could be pumping out content. I could be studying. I could be doing a lot of things. And no offense to those things, and I need to watch those videos, but when God is giving you a calling, and when you know the direction you can go, you just got to go out there and get it. And so I challenge you to go get it. I challenge you to become the person you can be. And don't let others determine what they want for you. Don't let others put you in a box. Don't let them build your picture frame. Be who you're going to be. And so, it's possible. And I'm talking to somebody here, somebody that's gone through this struggle. And I'm thankful my grandma took us in. I'm thankful we weren't a product of the system. I'm thankful that I had a lot of loving people, and I'm thankful for the people up to this point. And I'm going to talk about it in part 2. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about that because I could talk for a couple more hours, but I want to break down some stories in part 2 from when I got my job at AT&T, and that reframing component, and what that does, and how the 10X levels really make sense. But there's so much to my life, and there's so much to your life, and you're not alone. And there's somebody like me that I'm talking to that's ready to break out. They're ready to break free, right? And I call this breaking out of the atmosphere. So this is this is your world, right? And so you keep hitting the dome. It's like the movie Hunger Games. If you never watched the movie Hunger Games, when Katniss Everdeen shot that lightning rod through the thing, and it destroyed the whole facade. It destroyed the whole environment. So that's the thing I'm trying to get you to understand. Shoot your arrow. Go watch the movie. It's a great movie. Shoot your arrow. Boom. Break that mold. Break that thing that they're trying to, and break out of there. And then keep breaking. As Jay-Z would say, new planes are getting broken in. New planes are getting broken in. And I can't wait to do the next episode with my boy. Can't wait to come up with Justin. Let me kickstart it. I'm sure a lot of these concepts will blend over. But we got to reframe your thinking. We got to retrain the way you think. And so if we can do that, if I can help people do that, right? And if I could do that massively, I'll be happy. And I'm happy for you. And FordX, go check out FordXmedia.com. Go to Coach FordX. Hey, subscribe. If you liked the video, great. If you didn't like the video, great. For me, I'm doing something. I'm breaking this. And I'm busting out. I'm busting out of here. I'm getting out. I'm going to continue to bust up. I'm going to continue to elevate to the highest levels of myself. And I look forward to that. I look forward to that challenge. I look forward to doing that. And I look forward to being me. I look forward to getting back to who I am and then reframing that individual and then transcending the things of which I know I can do, and we're going to blow out of that and we're going to go blow past that, and I know we can, and I look forward to it, and there's a lot of people to be thankful for, and I didn't forget a lot of people. Sometimes people watch your ascension, they be like, well, you forgot about, chill, don't even think like that, don't even talk like that. I know the people, and I know the people that I'm going to give massive love to, and you may not have been mentioned today, but that doesn't mean I forgot about you. And now I got a huge story, and I got a big story, and there's a lot to break down, but I want to break it down in chunks of teaching, right? So I'm trying to teach people how to reframe their thinking and retrain their thinking, and then how to get them to the next level. So it's got to be broken down in parts, because I took very specific transitions in my life. And so we want to get you paving the road, right? We want to go from dirt to gravel, to asphalt, and then we want to maintain that road, and then we want to add to that. So I hope this blesses you. I hope that you gain some nuggets from this. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. Share this with somebody. Share this with somebody that's going through. Share this with somebody that needs to hear this story, because somebody needs to hear the story. And it's my job. Just do your job. Book coming out 5/5/24, my 33rd birthday. Woo! Somebody needs to hear this story. So have a great night, and enjoy your rest of your President's Day.